for, my name's Andrew Hamilton. I'm the co-founder of Evolve Security Academy. And thank you all for joining me, and hopefully this informational session is informative. The way we, no real agenda, really want to be focused on, discussing the remote program. We recently launched the marketing for our Bootcamp remote program. So it's on our website. Definitely check it out. And a lot of answers are on our FAQ section of our website as well. But sometimes it's just good to explain it in person as well as answer any of your guys' questions. So throughout my presentation, or kind of my overview or informational session of this, please feel free to answer questions or ask questions. So there should be a questions answer there, so you can submit it. Make sure you can send it to all, or just send it to me, and I will address those as we go. And I think there's also a little raise your hand icon as well, and I'll try to get to those as well. But again, I'm here. We shouldn't take more than probably a half hour, if not less, for me to kind of go through what I have to talk about. It's pretty straightforward, and I'm really here to answer any questions. So I'll be around for that. So please get your questions answered. So long story short, a lot of the information about our company, and also what we've done to date is on our website and in our FAQ. I actually have a webinar that we recorded before, and it's there. It's about an hour. It's about an hour long, but it really explains the Bootcamp Pro course that we offered, and the Pro is the in-person, here in Chicago, Illinois, in-person boot camp that runs for 17 weeks. Okay, so that's called our Bootcamp Pro. In this informational session webinar, I'm going to be focused on the Bootcamp Remote program, which is new, and our first one is starting January 8th, 2018. So in a couple months. We're really excited. There's been a lot of demand for us to be able to offer this same curriculum and style remotely. So we're really excited to be doing that. Here, our mission at Evolve Security Academy has been and continues to be to close that gap of the skills gap, if you will, that's out there. There's 350,000 unfilled cybersecurity jobs in the U.S. When we got started a couple years ago, that number was 208,000. In 18 months or 2 years, it's grown to 350,000 unfilled jobs. So the demand keeps going. It's in the news every day. That's why you guys are here and interested in it, or you guys know about it. So to be able to do that remotely, or to be able to deliver this experience, or deliver the curriculum, and or fulfill our mission of training as many people as possible, obviously the remote option is a good way to do that. So we're really excited to put together a great program for you guys that delivers a lot of the same experiences, the same exact curriculum, and just doing that remotely. So if you're familiar with the Bootcamp, the curriculum that we've had, it's actually ranked the #1 cybersecurity bootcamp curriculum by SwitchUp, and this Bootcamp remote program is the exact same curriculum. All right, so it's going to be the same 12 modules that you would get in the in-person that we've been doing for 2 years now, and it ranges. The curriculum is a holistic. We have a holistic approach to the curriculum. So our goal is to create a well-rounded cybersecurity professional. So everywhere from somebody with, talking about cybersecurity, policy and procedure, security program creation, administration, all the way to the, to the defensive side, defense detection architecture, as well as hold on a second, hopefully that didn't pause you there. So all the way to to the offensive approach of offensive security, so vulnerability assessment, vulnerability management, that cybersecurity, all the way to incident response and forensics. So that's a lot. That's a mile wide. We try to go deep as we can throughout the course, but as you can imagine, security goes a mile deep as well. and we go, quite a few meters deep, but not a mile probably. But so yeah, boot camp, biggest takeaways: boot camp, remote is the exact same curriculum, exact same 12 modules as our #1 ranked in-person bootcamp curriculum. The students will still get exposed to the best of breed open source tools and enterprise tools. So we've established some great relationships to be able to deliver enterprise tools as well. Students also gain real work experience, through those live security assessments that we perform on non-for-profits. So you're still getting exposure to real live environments and gaining real project experience. And we still have, with a remote session, we still have one-on-one competency assessments with the instructor. So every module, students will sit down, have a one-on-one competency assessment to make sure that they're really grasping the concepts. And we really challenge people to kind of teach back what they've learned to kind of move forward. And then, bootcamp remote students, the program still offers everyone to sit for the Evolve Security Certified Professional certification. So to be able to sit for this exam, you have to complete the cohort and complete the 12 modules. And at the end, it's the certification consists of a 3-hour final exam. So that's multiple choice questions, fill in the blank, your typical certification exam. But it also includes a 7-hour final lab, if you will. So you have to, you have 7 hours, and you go in and perform different, utilizing different tools, different exercises. You have to perform different exercises within that lab to really prove your technical competency as well. So again, this just kind of bleeds into our methodology of, it's learning the material, it's one, but it's also doing the work and really proving that you can do the work, which is very, very important to us. So, that the lab as part of the final exam and the certification is part of that. When it comes to, the remote program, it's a 15-week program. So our in-person, I think it might be helpful to kind of take a step back and explain, if you're not as familiar with the Bootcamp Pro, which is the in-person here in Chicago. That program is 17 weeks. It's in person. The first 4 weeks are remote, and they meet Monday through Wednesday for 3 hours, so 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time, Chicago time. And then the following next 13 weeks are in person, and the classes meet Monday through Thursday. So it's an extra day, 4 days a week for 3 hours, 6 to 9 p.m. And then every other Saturday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Okay, so that's a typical schedule. For the remote program, what we're doing is it meets for 15 weeks. Okay, so a little shorter. And the live sessions are going to be Monday through Thursday for all 15 weeks. And it's going to be for 2 hours every night. So that's 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern time. And then, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific time. So obviously there's a little less hours in for the live sessions, and the way to kind of supplement that is we're also going to have kind of more homework, if you will, for the remote users. So there's going to be about 4 to 6 hours each week. You'll have pre-recorded lectures they'll have to go through. This is where we get kind of the really exciting part in my mind is the biggest difference that we're doing with the remote is, we believe the best way to deliver this curriculum remotely is really harnessing this new idea of what's called flipping the classroom. Okay, so if you think about traditional education or a traditional classroom setting, you're sitting in the class, with your peers, and probably about 80, if not 90, if not more percent, 90% of the experience in class is lecture-based, right? So it's a kind of a one-way communication with the instructor, and then when your homework, if you will, when you're actually doing the work, going through the exercises, that's spent on your own at home, or it's usually on your own, right? Sometimes you might get together with friends or classmates, but it's done at home. And there's some good things when you're in the classroom in the lecture. When you're in class, you have that kind of two-way street and communication, and you might go off on tangents and whatnot. But the bad thing about that is if when you're in class in person in traditional settings, is if you miss a little bit or you miss the notes, it's difficult to kind of hit pause or hit rewind to kind of ask that question. And if you do hit pause or hit pause and raise your hand and ask a question, you're actually slowing everyone else down around you, right? Which isn't a bad thing, right? You want to do that, but everyone kind of learns at different levels, right? So what we're able to do is, and then also when you're actually doing the project work, when you actually have an instructor in front of you, let's say you're in class, you actually have access to an instructor. 90% of it's just lecture based, right? You don't really get to access the knowledge that instructor brings or that they have, and then you're spent doing work on your own at home, which isn't really realistic to the real work environment, live environment, right? When you're working on projects together in a work environment, you're working together, right? And really that team atmosphere. So what we're doing is kind of flipping the classroom, right? So your homework is going to be live lectures, or sorry, not live lectures, pre-recorded lectures spent on your own time, and then make sure you can hit pause, you can hit it. People who need to review it, want to go through it 2-3 times, have at it, right? Take the notes and write down any questions that you may have. Be really diligent about, hey, I need to learn a little bit more about this, or I can't figure this out. But we really encourage you to hit pause and go Google it, right? If it's an acronym that they bring up that you forgot or you're not as clear about, hit pause, go Google it, try to figure it out. If you're still kind of stuck, okay, write it down, and then we'll address it to the live session. And that live session might be that night, might be the next day, but almost immediately you'll have access to your ability to access the instructor or TAs to have your questions answered and to go into more detail. Okay, so 4 to 6 hours are going to be spent each week on your own. The homework is going to be spent pre-recorded lectures. Okay, and then the live sessions, you're really going to be able to spend more time digging in with the instructor. So of the 4 live sessions each week, so it'll be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, for 2 hours each one. 2 of those sessions, so call it Monday and Wednesday, is going to be spent with a live instructor. Okay, and that's when you're going to be able to get your questions addressed, dig deeper into concepts that you might need a refresher on. It'll be a review of the real key concepts that you really need to grasp. And then also, the instructor's spin on, how these concepts actually apply to the real world, right? Their expertise and how it relates. And then also you're able to get off in tangents and talk about, current events, right? Which is a big one, and how maybe the concepts you're going over apply in the news article, the new news article, or the new things that are going on in the space. So really, you have 2 hours, I guess 4 hours each week, but those sessions, you'll have 2 hours that night to really dig in with the instructor and then have direct access to a subject matter expert. The other 2 live sessions, the other 2 days, which would be, call it Tuesdays and Thursdays, is when you really get hands-on with the labs, right? You'll be broken up into smaller teams, but probably groups of 4 to 5 individuals, and still be WebEx and kind of have your own little room, if you will. But you'll really spend that time digging into the lab tutorials, going through the different tools, going through the different exercises. Some of the lab tutorials to get you started will be, accessing a tool or going through a technical concept. You might have some of those will also be pre-recorded. It's not just pre-recorded lectures, it's also pre-recorded lab tutorials. But then it'll be on your own with your group as a resource to go over, kind of work through those. You definitely want to do all those lab tutorials and hands-on stuff. Make sure you're doing it as well, right? You're not just following along another team member, right? Kind of looking over their shoulder. You want to really get on the command line, get on the keyboard, and work through all that. But if you get stuck, if you're working through stuff, really leverage your peers and your coworkers. to problem solve and troubleshoot and get through those exercises, right? Part of the learning experience is beating your head against the wall. So try it yourself, leverage, and then, you know, if you still can't get there, leverage a teammate or a peer in your group. If you can't get there, leverage a TA or somebody else that maybe the other group of 5 or 4 people that are working over here. Reach out to them, or, you know, write it down and bring it to the instructor, you know, for the next session or the next day, right? But so that's the construct of that. What else? I think that kind of really covers it. I don't have any questions as of now. You know, one thing that, you know, we're excited about is, you know, it should be the exact same, you know, the exact same curriculum, right? And then, you know, we're doing the flipping the classroom, which I'm a big believer in. You know, Khan Academy does it, and is kind of spearheaded that, and so we're really excited to kind of get that off and running. Most likely, that's actually going to be the way we're going to probably start implementing that construct into the in-person one as well, right? So more the homework that you're doing is doing the lectures outside of class, and then when you're in class is when you really harness the group work or the hands-on work and hands-on lab work. You know, just to be clear, when it comes to another kind of big difference in the remote versus the pro, is probably a lot of people want to know about, is the job placement program that we have. So, you know, typically we offer job placement services for the in-person, and those services after graduation are not going to be offered as well to the remote. One of the modules of the 12 modules that you do cover in the remote does involve job placement preparation, job search preparation, right? So it's anything from, you know, resume preparation, interview prep, you know, teach you how to network, teach you how to you know, reach out and get those jobs, and, you know, interview prep, mock interviews. So a lot of that work, you know, we give you and prepare you and give you the tools that you need to be successful and go out and get a job. But a lot of that is obviously still on you to go do that. You know, the reason why right now we're not able to offer those services to the remote program has to just do with, you know, our ability to have the resources. You know, we might have one individual right now in New York, and one individual in, you know, Portland, and one in San Antonio, and all over the place, where, you know, we don't have this stronghold of hiring partners in those areas yet. So, you know, we can't really guarantee that we'll be able to kind of give you that service and provide that premier service that we're used to. But that being said, you know, you should be geared with the competency from the course, right? You should know your stuff. You'll have the hands-on work experience. You'll be getting the same exact experience, lectures and concepts. You'll, you know, pass the Evolve Security Certified Professional Certification exam, right? And also be given the skills and the tools you need to be successful in that job placement. So you probably shouldn't need us anyway for that. So you should be successful. But okay. No, thanks, Jorge. Got a couple questions here. Oh, nice, a lot of questions. Good. Let me bring this up, make it a little bigger so I can read these. All right, so Jorge Hernandez, do students still have access to the curriculum after they graduate? Is there a group project in the curriculum? So talk about the latter question. So is there a group project in the curriculum? The group project, if you will, would be all the labs throughout, right? Little projects here and there, little exercises. But the big group project is the real project work you do on a non-for-profit company, right? So you're actually performing a security assessment, you know, from engagement to delivery. You're going to be working on different aspects. You know, some people might lead certain areas of that assessment, and then you'll support other leads on other areas of an assessment, and that would be kind of your group project, right? And you'll get that experience. Do students still have access to the curriculum after they graduate? I think up to 90 days. So everyone gets access to, everyone gets an Evolve Academy.io email address, access to our SharePoint site, and our Office 365 email, as well as access to our learning management system that has all the modules on there and all the recordings. Once up to 90 days, you have access to that. But then after that, it's hopefully took good enough notes, and we start pulling access, if you will. Let me know if that answers your question, or does not, I guess. Byron, so are cybersecurity work conditions starting to become remote? Is it becoming a trend where cybersecurity analysts are allowed to work at home? Yeah, that's a great question. Depends, right? Just like any work environment, I think as a global economy and kind of everywhere, we're becoming more and more of a service economy. I think over 50% of all, even GDP is service-based, right? We are in the information age. That's why cybersecurity is so important, is because information is so valuable, right? So yeah, I mean, so cybersecurity conditions are becoming more remote, but a lot of people still want, if you're going to hire you as an analyst or going to hire you as a consultant, a lot of people want you to still be in person, kind of in headquarters, where you can have it's a good way to learn and follow, shadow people and kind of learn the ropes, and that probably for the first 6 to 18 months, I'd say, maybe 6 months to 2 years, being kind of in person. And then yeah, there's a lot of availability to go remote. My co-founder, Paul Fish, his company was based in Omaha, Nebraska, and he works out of here in Chicago, or worked out of here in Chicago for years, was able to do that. But you kind of got to prove yourself a little bit and prove that you're able to kind of work remote. And especially if you're a consultant, you're going to be asked to probably travel here and there, right? So if you're traveling to a lot of projects, it doesn't really matter where you work when you're not traveling. A good example we had is a current grad, put his hat, wanted to work in Chicago, but put his hat in a ring for a DC consulting company, okay? And they wanted him to obviously work there, but he was a strong candidate, and they're like, all right, we want to move forward with you, we like you, can you come here and work here for 3 months, kind of get some temporary living, or I think maybe they give him a stipend, I'm not exactly sure, but hey, work here remote, move here and work, and then we'll allow you to work remotely if everything kind of works out. So he's kind of every other weekend he was kind of traveling back to Chicago, but I think he went like 3 to 4 weeks, and he already kind of proved himself. I think they wanted him to do like 3 to 6 months work out there and then move remotely, but he's able to just kind of prove himself that, hey, I can get this work done remotely. So they said, hey, you can start moving sooner, right? So it all just kind of depends. But yeah, we're definitely seeing security analysts can probably more so than other jobs, work remotely, but they're still probably, depending on the company, it's hard to go, if you're fresh into security, no background, it's hard to go remote right away, right? So I get that. Hopefully that answers your question. Let me know if it does not. Okay, so what about students that may opt for the remote class but are in Chicago? Does the placement services include them? No, it doesn't. So one thing with that too is it's a lower price. So we want to make sure that those services are rendered to kind of equal across. One thing that we're working with and trying to work through is the in-person Chicago. What we've been doing, those guys are kind of the first priority, okay? And what I mean by that is, once we try to be good guys, we try to help people out, our goal and our mission is to help find you a job, right? And so we have a lot of people, even when we have some hiring partners or hiring managers who might have a job in New York, and they come to us and say, if it falls in our lap, right? And we have a bootcamp remote person who Is it looking for a place in New York, for example? We would obviously connect them, right? Especially if there's no one in our Bootcamp Pro who are in person who fits that description. One, has the qualifications, or two, you know, is interested in a position in New York, right? So the way I've been approaching it or viewing it is we'd still like to gather your information, what you're looking for, you know, even maybe collect your resume. But when it comes to hiring partners, our first priority is the Bootcamp Pro when it comes to hiring services, right? If there's a Bootcamp Pro graduate who is qualified and, you know, and we can match somebody up, that's who we're going to refer, or all things else equal. You know, once all those guys get placed, guys or gals, you know, once they all get placed and are, you know, or don't fit that description or that background that maybe an employer partner is looking for, at the end of the day, we want to give our hiring partners or, you know, employers out there the best talent, and we want everyone, whether they're in the pro or the remote, to find a job and be successful and grow their career, right? So that's kind of the way we've been approaching that. Is we're still definitely there to work for you. There's not going to be that as much probably back and forth or mentoring, tracking, and you know, helping you with negotiations and helping you with kind of feedback as you get feedback, kind of holding your hand, if you will, along the way in those services, as well as us proactively going out there and helping you make those connections and find partners. But there's definitely, you know, we're a resource, right? We're on your team, and anything we can do to help you, you know, we're definitely gonna do that, right? So it'd be more if stuff falls in our lap and it's a good match, and or the, you know, a Bootcamp Pro person or graduate doesn't kind of fit the bill, you know, then it'd be kind of going down the ladder, if you will. I hope that answers your question, but that's definitely a good one. Any other questions? All right, Byron, another one. Would you recommend the bootcamp for someone who has electronics engineering background with very minimal IT experience? Absolutely. We've had multiple people with that kind of electronic engineering background, right? It's still, I mean, engineering is still very, you know, it's still very math-based. It can be technical, if you will. A lot of those skills definitely transfer, especially just that engineering mindset, right? Going from, you know, that problem solving, that configuring, you know, troubleshooting, kind of really that problem solving, going through those, you know, it's similar, it might be just a different problem, right, that you're solving, but being able to take multiple variables, multiple concepts, putting them together and solving that problem, right? That's why security is so fascinating, and it's not going away anytime soon, is because it's not just one directional. It's as much technology that continues to come out to help automate processes, as much progress that artificial intelligence or machine learning is developing. Security is still fairly advanced when it comes to the amount of concepts and understanding of, when it comes to the softer skills of, you know, policy, procedures, and risk with a company and different threat vectors. Being able to couple that with how many different ways a hacker or a threat can come in, and being able to really think through and put all those together. So really, like, any kind of engineering background, that engineering mindset is very transferable, and we find that those students have great success in cybersecurity. Definitely advise you to go into our FAQ. One, watch my other webinar that's in our FAQ section on our website. And then two, in that FAQ section, towards the bottom, it talks about all the prep exercises that we recommend you go through. Our number one prerequisite is people with the right attitude, the right aptitude, right? If you're passionate about learning security, you immerse yourself, and you're smart enough to kind of learn concepts, right? We can teach you the skills you need. I feel like I'm the proponent of, hey, if you're smart and you're passionate about learning this stuff, I can teach you to be a surgeon, right? It might take you some time, and you might have a steep learning curve, right, if you're coming from nothing, but you can learn it, right? You definitely have a lot to learn and a steep learning curve, but we've done it with people. You know, we've had people who come in very little IT background or even very little technical background, but just kind of have that mindset, the right attitude, right aptitude, and that kind of mindset, that tinkering mindset, where they really just immerse themselves, really dig in, they put in the hours, they put in the hard work, and they actually graduate being, quote unquote, probably the more technical or most technical out of their cohort or out of their peers. So yeah, that's definitely doable. If you're starting from scratch on the IT side, really focus on, get a basic computer science background under you, right? And this is all in the prep exercises. Basic computer science, that includes, and then if you're going to get into a little bit of coding, Python is a good kind of, start getting into coding and thinking about scripting and Python and just code. Then we spend a lot of time in networking, right? Having a good, decent networking base. Again, the prep exercises has a ton of stuff in there. You don't need to read all of it or be proficient in all of it, but just kind of a good understanding or basic foundation. The stronger your foundation, the more you're going to get out of the program, and the more prepared you're going to be in cybersecurity. You can spend a career in networking, right? But as you can imagine, all the traffic that goes through an organization, that is what cybersecurity is, right? Is monitoring that traffic at the end of the day. That's how they get in. And then we spend a lot of time in Linux, the command line, right? So getting comfortable navigating the command line and working in Linux will kind of help with that learning curve. Like I said, we've had people who came in with, our first couple cohorts actually, they were kind of our guinea pigs or whatever. So they didn't, some of them didn't necessarily come through with that experience, and they got through it, but it was difficult, right? It was a difficult learning curve. But they got through it, they got jobs, they're successful, but the more background you have, and it kind of helps with ease that learning curve. So that's a good question. All right, great. I'll stick around for a little bit longer. If I can think of anything else, I might kind of ramble on a little bit more, because it might take you guys time to actually write a question. But again, really appreciate you guys coming out and hearing me. I hope this was helpful. You guys should have my email if you guys don't already. Andrew@evolvesecurity.io. You can email me directly, or info@evolveacademy.io. And feel free to reach out to me with any questions. Look forward to receiving your application and kind of walking through the admissions process and getting you involved. Thank you.